Hello. And just like that, Manchester City are within 3 points of the top of the Premier League. Crisis? What crisis? Mark Donaldson, Shaka Hislop to guide you through Sunday's action in the Premier League. A win, Shaka, for Manchester City at Brentford by a 0-0. But at what cost? Rodri having to be substituted in the 22nd minute after Erling Haaland had given City the lead. A day of mixed emotions, I suppose, for City, depending on the severity, and hopefully it's not too severe, of Rodri's injury.
Yeah, I guess so. And right now, first signs, and I freely admit I'm no doctor, but the signs weren't that awful for Rodri. Walked off on his own strength. You saw when he kind of pulled up, wasn't any nobody was around him. In actual fact, he wasn't really running that far. So you want to think, and again, no physio. You want to think it's a strain more so than a pull to the right hamstring, I think it was. And hopefully, for Manchester City's sake, it's not too long term. It's an international break, so that probably helps in that regard, at least time wise, and how much treatment he's able to get.
What would Dr. Hislop consider the difference between a strain and a tweak?
A tweak is very slight, a strain is middle, and a pull is top of the charts.
Okay, it's a bit like VAR deciding is it careless, reckless, or using excessive force.
Yeah,
so there you go.
You don't get any more in the medical books.
You don't get any more from Dr. Hislop without you having to charge money for appointments. So we'll leave it there. But thank you for the clarification.
Anytime.
For that. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Now, Rodri's 22nd minute injury came after City were already a goal ahead. Haaland, 9-game scoring streak for club and country. It's like last season was a blip for him, and he's back to the way that everyone thought he would be. He just scores every time he gets on the pitch. He had to work for this one. He did well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and it's scary in truth, and it shows the strength of Haaland. Haaland's like no other striker, not just in English football, but dare I say, world football. Anybody else would have gone down. Anybody else would have taken the penalty, but not Haaland with a defender draped all over his back. He's able to shrug aside the challenge, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and then a comfortable finish at the end of it. I mean, I'm really not sure what else or how else you're supposed to defend that when Haaland is in this kind of form. Truth be told, for Brentford, at least they were able to limit his chances going forward from then on in. But just as far as his goal goes, I'm not sure what else you can do as a human being to stop Erling Haaland in that situation.
Legally, yes.
Yeah.
Illegal gets you into trouble.
Yeah, and those first couple of attempts, I'm not sure how legal they were either. But Haaland just shrugs aside the attentions. I'm trying to remember the defender. I can't remember the name right now, but he just shrugged them aside as though he weren't there. And again, I'm not sure how legal those 2 charges were in the first place.
Do you want to talk for half an hour about the rest of the game?
I'm not sure I can talk for half an hour about the rest of the game. From there on in, the most I can say is it was controlled from Manchester City from there on in without building on their lead. I thought Reinders had one shot from about 25 yards that went about 25 yards over the crossbar. Phil Foden had a couple opportunities that I thought he could and should have done better with. In the end, fairly straight at the goalkeeper. Outside of that, nothing to report. But I mentioned those just in terms of Manchester City scoring and the dispersion or lack of dispersion of goal scorers in their squad. Threatened so much, but in the end, it's all about Erling Haaland. You're just waiting for somebody else to join in and make Manchester City the fearless team or fearsome team, whatever the adjective is of a couple of years ago. Because right now, Haaland is getting no real support in terms of goal scoring.
That's a good point. A couple of years ago, we spoke about Haaland and how he was flying, but everyone else was chipping in with goals. City would have put that game to bed a couple of years ago, wouldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely they would. And like I say, they had not that they were in want of chances. They had a couple of chances. And again, falling to Foden, um, who had the best of the two chances, but just miscued a couple of efforts. And um, two seasons ago, those would end up in the back of the net, and this would have absolutely been a stroll in the park. In the end, because of the just the one goal, Brentford kind of go all the way to the end, believing that they can get something out of this game. And Donnarumma had to, I don't want to say be at his best, but certainly be get called into action in a way that maybe he should have. Maybe City's control of the game didn't warrant.
Yeah, look, City win the game. This is the whole thing that we're trying to say. They won it. They were in cruise control to win it. But a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, when they were winning titles every single year, they were winning these games 2, 3, 4 by 4 goals or whatever. Now you've got Donnarumma to thank for denying Brentford the equaliser. Now Igor Thiago, he's maybe taken an extra heavy touch. He's gone through on goal. Now, I know he might not be the best goalkeeper in the world as far as the ball at his feet, but what are you thinking if you're Donnarumma, right? And I'm sure you had many strikers bearing down on you. You're a big lad as well as he is. What's the biggest thing that you have to do to try and make that goal for him look as small as possible?
Well, you're waiting for the mistake, and the mistake came in Thiago's second to last touch,
Yes.
which I thought was a little bit heavy. Donnarumma, once he made that touch, was able to close the ground really quickly. I will also say that he got a big helping hand from O'Reilly tracking back, because it meant that Thiago could not go right, and so it limited Thiago's options once he came face to face with Donnarumma. And then it's about Donnarumma's experience in recognizing that heavy touch, recognizing when to advance. And once he did, it's just about Donnarumma staying big. I say almost in inverted commas. Donnarumma is a big old boy. And once he closes that ground, Thiago tries a little chip, but he's too close. Donnarumma is just too big, hits him flush in the chest. And their best chance of the game goes a begging for Brentford.
So with Liverpool losing again, third time in a week, Arsenal winning, Spurs doing what Spurs do and doing it well, potential banana skin and winning at Leeds, they're third, Bournemouth at fourth, City quietly up to fifth. They'll be happy that no one's really talking about them, will they?
Yeah, they'll be delighted about that. Listen, I don't think this is the City of 2 years ago, but
No.
certainly they've already shown that they are much better than the City of last season. And if they are able to get contributions in terms of goal scoring from the midfield, I mentioned Reinders, like I mentioned Foden, Cherky coming back from injury. Maybe that changes a lot of the dynamic. Savinho and Doku, very good wing players, but you don't fancy them to get into double digits of goal scoring. They may grab one or two here or there. So I'm not, well, I don't want to say critical, but not expecting of those two in terms of goals. But if you can get contributions from the others, if you can get one other player hitting double digits, one other player up in the 8 or 9, or one or two other players up in the 8 or 9 range, and Erling Haaland doing Erling Haaland things, this could be a very good City team. Are they good enough to win the league? I'm not so sure I'll commit to that just yet, but certainly a good enough team to worry the likes of Arsenal, who are currently sitting on top and probably favourites at this point, given what we've seen from Liverpool over the last couple of weeks. Or last
Arsenal.
week.
Yeah, Arsenal are the best footballing team right now in the Premier League, and they're top of the table. So City win, good 3 points for them at Brentford. Newcastle 2, Nottingham Forest 0. Pretty routine in the second half for Newcastle. Big story here. How much trouble is Ange Postecoglou in, yet to win as manager of Forest?
A lot. And with each loss, the pressure increases on Postecoglou exponentially. And listen, going to St. James's Park and losing 2-0 is not that big a deal. But it's 7 games. It's 7 games for Postecoglou. And if you want to take away the first 2 results, which were Arsenal and Swansea in the Cup, I believe it was, the rest of those games, I'm not sure there's a lot of excuse for Postecoglou. I'm not sure there's a whole lot of wiggle room. You can't be losing at home to Sunderland, at
Hmm.
home to Midtjylland in Europe. Added to everything else that was going on. Um, Now you come up against, albeit as I said, going to St. James's Park is difficult for anybody. But just kind of given how things have gone so far, each result is more and more worrying. And now you've got 2 weeks to kind of let that settle, or let the pressure kind of take its toll on you before you have another opportunity to try to redeem yourself, to try to break this ridiculous record. That's when you fall off a bike, the best thing to do is get back on as quickly as possible. Nobody wants to lie around on the floor for 2 weeks thinking about how do I get back onto my bicycle.
Well, they've got a few bumps and bruises from falling off that bike. It's Chelsea next, by the way, and not since John Baines in 1925, just off the top of my head,
You were
as a
there.
permanent Forest manager, gone winless in his first 7 games. I'll just double check that with the staff, but I'm sure it was John Baines in
Sure, it's fine with me.
1925. Is it
I'm
good?
convinced.
Good,
I'm
Dr.
convinced,
Hislop?
Mark. I'm
That's very good.
convinced. Mhm.
Must be the hat today. Newcastle, Voltemada scoring again. The first player to score in each, off the top of my head, of course, of his first 3 Premier League home games for Newcastle since Shaka Hislop was there. 1996. Was there any decent strikers at Newcastle in 96? I can't think of any.
Might have been one or two. Baltimore wonderfully taking penalty, and to be honest, I was giggling a little bit from the time Bruno Guimaraes goes down for the foul penalty given. Guimaraes is writhing around on the floor in agony as he does. Baltimore just goes, picks the ball up. He couldn't be less concerned with Bruno Guimaraes. He just picks the ball up and he's like, I'm taking this. As if to dare anybody else to do any different. Poor old Bruno Guimaraes still writhing as we speak. Baltimore steps up. And to be honest, what a penalty it was. And then all of a sudden, to our discussion about Nottingham Forest and Postecoglou, you go from Nuno Espirito Santo, who is very, very disciplined, I'll say, very defensive in his setup with Nottingham Forest, to Postecoglou. You want to feel trying to get this Forest team to play more attacking. You feel that was his mandate. All of a sudden, it was only after maybe that second goal that Forest start to play the kind of football that you associate with Postecoglou. That being said, of course, you've got to take chances. You've got to throw caution into the wind. You've got to push players forward. Because before that, I don't think they did. And that was the kind of conflicting thing about watching Forest up to that point for me. You know who Postecoglou is. You know how he likes to have his teams playing. But at no point before then, you would be able to tell that from Forest's performance. And now you have this team who are built to defend, who are built around being disciplined and doing a job and making sure you have a shape defensively. Under a coach now who wants to press high up the park, who wants to play with a high defensive line. It's you're not sure what you're getting or what to expect as a result. And I'm saying that as somebody looking from the outside. I'm half wondering if that's exactly the issue for the players at this present moment.
Well, it's square pegs and round holes for Forest, but Newcastle don't care. They're up to
Nope.
11th in the table, and Voltemada scoring in his first 3 home Premier League games, becoming only the 3rd Newcastle player to do so since, of course, football was invented in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
To your former teammates, Sir Les Ferdinand and Alan Shearer with the other ones. Now, Crystal Palace have lost for the first time since 1978. Quite the run. Quite the run. I mean, they've finally been beaten. What is it here? Newcastle again, April 16th. Goodness me, 19-game unbeaten run. But Everton had Jack Grealish to thank late on for a bizarre goal, but he scores it, wasn't it? And now Everton are saying on their bio on their social media, Grealish for England. It's been quite the run for Palace. They are just a dangerous side. Munoz scoring back-to-back games. But Everton, you could see at the end, I think there was 8 added minutes and the referee played like 13 and a half. And goalkeeper Jordan Pickford was going crazy as if to say, come on, ref, hurry it up. The celebrations at the end told the story. And Everton up to 8th, Shaka. That's a good win for them.
It really is. And this was an incredible game of football. I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Crystal Palace are a very good footballing team, and you saw that. And on one hand, you want to say maybe there was a challenge by Gahey on, I can't remember who, very early on. No, you've got to forgive me, Mark. I was trying to watch 6 games all at once, including Barcelona away to Sevilla. He had a challenge on I'm trying to remember who it was in the first half that I thought quite easily could be given as a penalty. That being said, the attacker didn't appeal, didn't make any kind of, he wasn't he didn't know any better. So you give Gahey the benefit of the doubt there. But then Crystal Palace took the lead and you want to feel deservedly so. And then Everton, at times, the camera kind of panned to David Moyes on the sideline, and he looked a defeated man. But Everton never down tools and kept plugging away, and even at 1-1, continued to play on the front foot and got that second goal. You're right. I'm not sure how much Grealish knew of it. To his credit, kind of anticipated where the clearance would go, and got himself in that position, and then got the little bit of luck as it comes off the underside of his boot straight into the back of the net. But Everton thumbed the underside of the crossbar as well, so it quite easily could have gone straight in. And in the end, you have to say, give Everton their due. They probably earned that. That being said, had Palace scored up the other end, I'd probably be saying the same thing, because both these teams are. But it was, as I say, it was an outstanding game of football that really could have gone either way.
Everton just 5 points off the top. I wonder where the Champions League final is next season. Hearts Everton, perhaps, in the final. Just a thought. The final game. What are you looking at me like that for? This is what football's all about. It's the dream. Our producer, Sam's a Stevenage fan. His team's top of the table. Don't you dare pee on our parade, Mr. Hislop.
I'm just waiting for Sam to come on here and talk about Stevenage in the Champions League final. But let's carry on.
They've got to get into the next league above first.
Let's carry on.
They can do that. But hey, that's what this is all about. This is what Bournemouth fans are doing right now. They're like 4th. They're looking at their passports to get into Europe and Champions League. This is why we love football, because it gives us the hope, and then it slaps us in the face. That's why we love football. Was one of the 20 games you watched?
Hold on. You love football for the slap in the face? Is that what I'm supposed to take away from this?
No, it's the hope first before you get slapped in the face.
So many questions. So many questions, so little time, Mark.
Did you watch the power slap on Friday night? I mean, honestly, that's a sport now, but we're not going anywhere near that. I want to end briefly, not by talking for 20 minutes, about Wolverhampton Wanderers against Brighton. 1-1, Verbruggen OG after 21 minutes, and then John Paul van Hecke after 86. I thought for a long time, that Wolves were getting their first win, but Tony Bloom's Brighton, who's also got Union Saint-Gilloise and Heart of Midlothian, who are also doing well, they got a point, Brighton. Was this one of the 80 games you watched this morning?
It was. Again, I had this up. And first of all, Verbruggen, as a fully paid member of the Goalkeepers Union, my heart broke from an outstanding save.
Little violin.
No, even stop. Outstanding save, comes off the crossbar and hits him in the eye. How heartbreaking is that? And then Van Eyck up the other end with the late header. The funny thing, I'm watching this. I'm like, you can tell this is a defender. He scores and has absolutely no idea how to celebrate. He's just running around. Thinking, oh, what am I supposed to do now? But I thought Brighton would have battered Wolves, and even after Wolves got the early goal, I thought Wolves were good value for their lead, and in the end for their point out of this one, because Brighton are a team I think very highly of, but I thought all in all maybe Brighton just about shaded it by. I thought Wolves gave a far better account of themselves than I'd seen all season long, and maybe this is if not the result, a performance they can build on, because they matched Brighton in so many departments for so long in this one. They kind of feel a little heartbroken now, understandably, because I thought performance-wise, this was their best game of the season.
It's a point, though. They're only 14 behind
Yeah.
Arsenal at the top of the league, and
Well,
that's why we dream after
for the
7
slap.
games in the Premier League.
Look
What we
out!
do.
Look out for the slap.
So Wolves not quite in the European chasing hunt yet, still bottom of the table, but up to 5th. Manchester City after a 1-0 win at Brentford. Shaka mentioned La Liga, by the way. Sevilla beating Barca 4-1. If you're in the United States, the final game of the weekend is Celta de Vigo against Atletico Madrid. I'll be commentating on that one with Casey Keller, another member of the Paid Up Goalkeepers Union, hence the kind of Sunday casual dress today. So tune into that on ESPN Plus. No more slapping around the place. It's about dreaming and daring to dream for Hearts, for Stevenage, for Bournemouth, and for everybody else who wants to dream. We will see you again soon. Bye for now.